everyone. Want to welcome you back as we continue our series of learning the minor arcana with numerology. This video is on the number 6, and I take that deep breath because we certainly needed it after we went through the 5s. Yep, the 5s, you heard me say, was a pivotal point in our growth and our lessons. It was time for us to take action or reaction to the situations that we found ourselves in at the 5 levels. A decision needed to be made or an action needed to be taken. Here in the 6, that occurred. So I like to put the 6s under this umbrella. It is the calm after the storm, and we'll discuss that a little bit further when we interpret the cards. But right now, let's consider what the number 6 means symbolically in numerology, and I'd like to begin astrologically. The number 6 corresponds to the planet Venus. Well, Venus is all about love. Venus is all about harmony. And the action of Venus is always gentle. It's always caring. It's responsive to other people's needs. So that's the planet for number 6. And those images of that energy is also depicted in all of the 4 tarot cards. Now, 6 is a emotional feminine number in numerology, and it relates to family, especially children. Archetypal, that number 6 refers to the inner child in all of us. And at this point, I would just like you to humor me for a minute, going back to the number 6. Visualize what the side view of a bent wood rocking chair would look like. Do you see any correlation to what that number 6 would be? You know, use your imagination. There's your bent wood rocker or any rocking chair. That is very symbolic of the properties of what the number 6 entails. You heard me say it was feminine, emotional, and the planet that it represents is Venus. So it is the nurturing number of home and family. But go one step further. What would the side view of a pregnant woman look like in any rocking chair? You would see the silhouette of her back, and then you could make believe or influence that on her belly, her stomach protruding, again the side view, would be the child. So what is all that about? What is all that symbolic about? Well, whenever we're seeking solutions, number 1, it should be balanced. That's the first thing. And visualizing that rocking chair, the side view of the rocking chair and the pregnant woman, really is a way of representing rhythmic movement. That rhythmic movement is comforting. A rocking chair moves back and forth. It's not stable. As soon as you sit in a rocking chair, it's going to move, and that indicates change. Put a newborn baby in a rocking chair, and they usually stop crying. It's a form of, like I said, relaxation. Some people do inter-reflection, going back and forth in a rocking chair. Now, 6 also incorporates all of what I said, as well as the intellect. 6 is a thinking number, because as it is processing, let's say, the emotions, it realizes that the insights that may occur in the mind have to do with what do I need to do to move forward for the next step? Now, here is where I would like you to think about that of the numbers 1 through 9, because that's all there is. After that, there's just higher octave. 10 is a higher octave of the number 1. That the number 6 is the only number that faces the direction right. All the other numbers face the left. Now, what does that mean? It means that the 6 is telling you to put your back at adversity. Don't look behind. Put all your energy. Look at all the energy here, the cycling of energy, cycles of time. Everything is connected. Forward, the right side, the future. And if you do that, then of course you're going to have insights and a change of mind. If you let go of the past, the adversity, whatever that may be, and you focus all your attention on what's next. Now, I said that 6 was the only number that faced the direction of the right, and everything, all the other numbers are left. There is an exception. Number 8 does not do either or. It is equal and balance. It doesn't have too much on the right or too much on the left. It is vertical in nature, also horizontal in nature. It is a balanced number. We'll talk about 8 at another time. So I'm hoping with all this explanation of the number 6, you can get a clear indication of what is going on. Okay, so number 6 incorporates home, family, security, harmony, community life. It's cyclical. It's a cyclical number. It tells you to move ahead continuously, which we're seeing in all of these cards. And the strongest, I would say, energy of the 6 is the idea that you have to balance the 2. Now, what are the 2? When I'm saying that, I'm saying that you have to balance the emotions with the intellect, okay? Because through that, as I said earlier, we're seeking to understand, to process, to explain. Now, on a metaphysical level, that image is depicted by the 2 interlacing triangles known as the Seal of Solomon, or the 6-pointed star. It's also known as the Star of David. We've got 6 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here again, you are interlacing spirit, the male, fire energy pointing up, and then blue, emotional, feminine energy pointing down. You are incorporating the energy of the 6 to what is called the upper level of the world and the lower level of the world joining and creating something new, something more inspiring, something very balanced. Okay, with all that said, let's begin with the 6 of Wands. Here is certainly harmony and something that's been achieved. There is a new sense of purpose, and the rider is going forward into the future. That's easy to see. You've heard me say before, the wands also represents the self, and we were talking about psychologically how to learn lessons and balance the self. Well, this has definitely been achieved. There is self-awareness here and victory in that self-awareness because he wears it, and he doesn't give himself all the credit. He is holding the wand and the victory wreath because they're all connected. They all worked together from that 5 level and said, okay, you've got a good idea, let's take that. I'm not sure about yours, don't take offense, but let's work together as a team and see if we can not give up anything, but come to a greater understanding and move forward to the betterment of self and others. And that is certainly depicted in the Six of Wands. So we had a decision made, action has been made, achievement is now possible, even going forward. The ego of the self has been tempered. Now, why do I say that? Okay. Most of the times, the ego is depicted as a five senses, going back to the five, because we said the five was the number of the five senses, but it has to do with animal instincts. The rider is sitting on a horse that is in gray, meaning the balancing, the neutrality. Not only is he in gray, but he has learned to listen to a higher voice, which of course is who is riding him, by the way his head is turned and his ears to listen to the master, to give it its next command. So what we have here, folks, is everyone is working in unison. The challenge has been faced, and everyone seems to be victorious. When this card comes out, there is definitely progress being made, and everyone is in agreement. Let's say that. Okay, let's move on to the Six of Cups. All right, here we did the work of what the Five of Cups told us to do. Yep, we crossed the bridge. We made the necessary transition in heart and mind. Now, why do I say that? Let me see if I can get the card. Remember, I said we had to cross this bridge and go to the inner self, the sanctuary. Well, we did that. If we look at 5 as the emotions, that is the heart, and 5 as the number of intellect, that is the reasoning. We joined them together at the 6th level, and now we have come home not only to ourselves, but we've overcome the grieving process. There is no indication of grieving in the Six of Cups. In the Six of Cups, we are happy. We want to share. What are we sharing? Well, we could be sharing what we learned. We could be sharing our experience, how we transition from the past to the future. And in that experience, we are elated to the point that nothing but love comes out of us and acceptance. So this card is let's call it the fruition of merging the two. Now that fruition is being depicted in what is in the cups. What are we seeing in the cups? A clue. A 5-pointed star the 5-pointed star is the number of the self, and man now in white has purified and now become fruitful, where there is no pain, but there's an acceptance. And that fruition and letting go of the past is depicted here on the left side of the card, where the old self is leaving and the new child is being born and looking to share and love and begin again. So when this card comes out, there's something that's been cultivated within us. Something that cultivation now says, I want to share it with others. And it is expressed in a very loving way, in an innocent way, because we're seeing the two children. The other thing that this card really depicts that is important is the dwarfs. And symbolically, the dwarfs indicated a form of protection. And it was shown with the letter X. That was symbolic of that protection. that to me is a crossroad. This X here indicates that you've made the connection with the past and the experience, or the same revelation of the six-pointed star, the interlacing two triangles. Remember, the triangles are three-sided, the Trinity, and they have interlocked. And that is just another way of symbolically putting that in the card, that letter X. And the dwarfs, yeah, I forgot what the Egyptian symbology was of the dwarf, but they were a form of protection as well. So we have a union of the upper and lower worlds, or the mind. The message here is a decision was made, change has occurred. The hard work of the Four of Cups has now come to fruition. Remember, this was very hard for us. We had, an offer was being made and we didn't even see it. Here, an offer is being made, a fruitful offer is being made, and it is being accepted, and it is an expression of beauty, security, and happiness. Okay. Six of Swords. All right, now the first thing I would like to point out is that all the swords in this card are pointing down. Now you may recall in the Five of Swords the meaning behind that. I explained it. When the swords are down, it indicates that the battle is ended. But here, the swords are still in front of the two figures, and they are divided, 4 swords and 2 swords. Well, let's look at those and see what they were. Okay, here was the lesson, and this is what has happened. The spiritual side of the 6 is the key here, okay? Now, I'm saying the spiritual side of the 6 is the key here. Again, let me go back to the Seal of Solomon, because this is spirit, the higher world, okay, of this situation. All right, so what has happened here when we look at the 2 of Swords here and the 4 of Swords there? Well, the lessons of those cards were that if I block out what is happening around me, put my back to it, back to that 6, put my back to the challenges, the emotions, what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling. And there again, we have an X depicted, crossing, the X, wanting to unite heart and mind. That if I do that and seek the guidance of a higher mind through meditation, through my faith, through contemplation or prayer, whatever that is, the answer will come. That answer at the 6th level was for a spiritual and a physical move to a distant shore, to move on, to get away, possibly to relocate it. There's also, when we move, we have a new sense of awareness when we're moving. We're in a new town, new energy, new people. Even though it could be difficult at times, it's uncomfortable when we think differently, there's an adjustment that goes on. And that adjustment is also represented again by that number 6, friends. That back and forth where we may gain a few steps and go back a few steps, but it is consistent. And if we keep at it, things will become more stable and clear. So even though the situation is still around us, we've made the necessary move. Now, the other key that's so important here, as we talked about the inner child, and here again we have a child with us. The work has been done. The child is sitting on the calm side of the water, which represents the emotions. The work continues to be done by the self, the woman here, where there's still some emotions that have to be dealt with. that have to be freed, that have to be understood. So when this card comes up, there's this question about, as I progress, do I need to revisit my belief system, possibly, my emotions, how I process them, how I communicate with other people, how I share my thoughts, how I share my feelings, and going forward, how I express those, because we know that the swords all has to do with the reason, with intellect, with communicating. So there is a processing of that change, and it doesn't happen overnight, but we're in a safe place, and we understand it now, we see it, and we're willing to work at it. Okay, we now come to the Six of Pentacles. And of course, here success has been achieved with the image of the scales. The scales tells us that this achievement or that success was quite balanced. Okay, now here I have to also give you an important aspect of reading the images in the cards and considering the direction that the image on the card is. All right, the man in the center is facing us. Okay, this is what's different. Therefore, it's considered a mirror image, so that the right side is the left and the left side is the right when the image faces us. So basically, he is holding the scales in his left hand. Now, there is multiple meanings for the right and left side. And we talked about that as far as the left side being the past and the right side being the future. The other meaning that I'm about to give you right now, with the scales being held in the left hand, represents the masculine and feminine aspects. Of course, feminine is the nurturing, receptive, and if he's holding it in the left hand, it's the side of the heart, the side of compassion, the emotional nature. So he is balancing, again, what he is giving out equally on both sides of the heart and the mind. What is fair, what is balanced, what is honest. And he's giving the coins with his right hand, his intellect, his reasoning, his logical mind of what he believes these two people need. Now, the six is showing also the balance. Okay, you have that here, you have the triangle, all right? And when we see yellow, here we have the intellect seeking balance. We see blue, you have the emotions seeking balance. You could also look at it as these two needy individuals trying to balance more intellectually, and this person is trying to balance more emotionally. And there's a confusion in these Six of Pentacles as to what's fair, what's balanced, because we all have our own idea of what that is, and that is why you're seeing the Pentacles. Is it 3, 2, and 1? Or is it 3, 1, and 2? And the lesson here is we may not know what others need. And most of us will project what we think they need from ourselves, our own experience. And it may not be balanced for them, but it's still a card showing compassion, and that what we have done with the successes that we achieved, again going back to the Six of Cups, we want to share it with others. So when this card comes up, we can say that there is success, There is giving of material goods if it has to do with anything physical, because we also know that the pentacles has to do with our physical body. Then we have a balance in the state of our health. And this card depicts that going forward, we are on the road to harmony when it comes to finances, prosperity, and the physical body. I'm going to leave it there. I don't want it to be too long. Thanks everyone for joining me. I welcome your input and comments. Take care. And again, we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.